On June 12, 2025, Air India flight AI-171 was preparing for a routine long-haul journey. The Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner, registered as VTANB, stood ready at Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel International Airport in Ahmedabad. Its destination was London Gatwick, a familiar route for the airline and its crew. The flight was filled with 230 passengers and 12 crew members, a mix of families, tourists and business travelers beginning their trip. The weather was clear and all pre-flight checks indicated that the aircraft was in perfect condition. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary as the powerful engines spooled up for takeoff, promising another uneventful flight across continents for the 242 souls on board. The aircraft lifted off the runway at 1:39 p.m. local time, climbing into the afternoon sky. However, the sense of normalcy was shattered almost immediately. Within 30 seconds of becoming airborne, the pilots transmitted a frantic mayday call, a clear signal of a severe and urgent emergency unfolding in the cockpit. This distress signal was the last communication received from Flight AI-171. For those on the ground who witnessed the takeoff, the aircraft's ascent appeared dangerously slow and unstable. The situation escalated with terrifying speed, leaving no time for the experienced flight crew to attempt a return to the airport or find a safe landing area away from the densely populated city below. Just 32 seconds after it left the ground, the massive aircraft plunged back towards the Earth. Its trajectory took it directly into the Meghani Nagar area, a bustling part of Ahmedabad. The Boeing 787-8 crashed into a hostel block of the BJ Medical College, a building that housed trainee doctors and medical students. The impact was catastrophic, resulting in a massive explosion and fire that engulfed both the aircraft wreckage and the building. The crash sent shockwaves, both literal and figurative, through the city and across the international aviation community. The flight that had barely begun ended in a devastating tragedy just moments after it started. The immediate aftermath was a scene of chaos and horror. First responders rushed to the site, battling the intense blaze and navigating the unstable structure of the damaged hostel. The crash site was a tangled mess of aircraft debris, personal belongings, and the remnants of the college building. It quickly became apparent that the event was a mass casualty incident on an almost unimaginable scale. The aircraft had been carrying a full load of fuel for its long journey to London, which fed the inferno for hours. The disaster had not only claimed the lives of those on the flight, but had also brought death and destruction to a place of learning and healing on the ground. The scale of the loss of life from the AI-171 crash was staggering. Of the 242 people aboard the Dreamliner, investigators confirmed that 241 had perished. This included all 230 passengers and 11 of the 12 crew members. The passenger manifest revealed a diverse group of travelers, including 52 British nationals, many of whom were part of the Indian diaspora visiting family or returning home. The tragedy struck families from different parts of the world, uniting them in shared grief. Each name on the list represented a unique story cut short, a future erased in the fiery impact. The airline and authorities faced the grim task of notifying next of kin as the identities of the victims were slowly confirmed. The devastation was not confined to the aircraft. On the ground, the crash carved a path of destruction through the BJ Medical College hostel. The impact and subsequent fire claimed the lives of at least 19 people inside the building, many of them young trainee doctors with promising careers ahead of them. Over 60 others on the ground sustained injuries, some of them severe, adding to the immense toll of the disaster. The total number of fatalities from the event is estimated to be between 260 and 275 people, making it one of the deadliest air crashes in recent Indian history. The college, a center for medical education, became an emblem of the tragedy's wide-reaching impact. Amidst the overwhelming loss, a single story of survival emerged. A 40-year-old British Indian national named Vishwas Kumar Ramesh, who was seated in seat 11A, was found alive in the wreckage. He miraculously escaped with only minor injuries, becoming the sole survivor of the flight. His survival is a rare and extraordinary exception in an accident of this magnitude, where the forces of impact and the ensuing fire are typically unsurvivable. His account will be invaluable to investigators trying to piece together the final moments of the flight from a passenger's perspective, offering a unique witness to the terrifying, brief journey of Flight AI-171 from inside the cabin. The process of identifying the victims has been a painful and complex undertaking for the authorities. The intensity of the fire meant that many remains were difficult to identify, requiring extensive forensic work. International cooperation became essential, with disaster victim identification teams from the United Kingdom arriving to assist their Indian counterparts. Using DNA analysis, dental records, and other forensic methods, the teams have been working tirelessly to provide certainty to grieving families. This meticulous and emotionally taxing process is a critical step in honoring the victims and providing closure to their loved ones who are grappling with the sudden and violent loss. Immediately following the crash, the focus turned to finding out what went so terribly wrong. The investigation is being led by India's Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau, with crucial assistance from the US National Transportation Safety Board and the UK's Air Accidents Investigation Branch. A top priority was the recovery of the aircraft's black boxes, the cockpit voice recorder and the flight data recorder. Both were successfully retrieved from the wreckage, and their data was downloaded by late June 2025. These recorders hold the key to understanding the aircraft's technical status and the actions of the pilots during the critical seconds before the crash. A preliminary report is expected by July 11, 2025, which will outline the initial facts of the case. However, some early findings have already begun to shape the direction of the inquiry. Air India conducted simulator tests based on the known flight parameters, which have reportedly ruled out issues with the landing gear or flaps as the primary cause of the accident. This has shifted the investigation's focus squarely onto a much more serious and rare scenario, a catastrophic failure of both of the aircraft's engines. The evidence suggests a sequential loss of thrust in both Rolls-Royce Trent 1000 engines almost immediately after the plane became airborne, a situation that would leave any flight crew with virtually no options. A significant clue that emerged early on was the deployment of the RAM air turbine. The RAT is a small emergency propeller that deploys automatically to provide essential hydraulic and electrical power if both engines fail. Evidence indicates the RAT on AI-171 deployed just after takeoff, which strongly supports the theory of a dual-engine failure and a major loss of the aircraft's primary systems. Investigators are now exploring several potential causes for such a failure. The possibilities being examined include media group, aviation experts discussing possible causes on whiteboard, investigators reviewing technical diagrams of aircraft systems at stock, at distribute_equally, a critical technical fault within the engines or their power supply systems, the introduction of contaminated fuel into the aircraft, or, though less likely, an act of sabotage. The simultaneous failure of two reliable modern engines is exceptionally unusual and a point of major concern for investigators. India's Minister for Civil Aviation has publicly noted the rarity of such an event, highlighting the complexity of the task ahead. The full investigation is expected to take several months, with a final report likely to be published around September 2025. Until then, every piece of data from the FDR, every word from the CVR, and every fragment of wreckage will be meticulously analyzed. The aviation world is watching closely, waiting for definitive answers to explain how a state-of-the-art airliner could fall from the sky so quickly. In the wake of the tragedy, the response from authorities and the airline has been swift. Air India moved quickly to address the immediate needs of the victims' families, providing interim compensation to a majority of those affected. The airline also established long-term support mechanisms to help them navigate the difficult road ahead. On the legal front, nearly 20 British families have retained the services of UK law firm Keystone Law. The firm is conducting its own investigation into the crash, focusing specifically on the cause of the dual-engine failure and the deployment of the RAT. They have indicated that they may pursue legal action against Air India or the aircraft manufacturer Boeing, depending on their findings. The AI-171 disaster, compounded by a separate serious incident just 2 days later involving another Air India wide-body jet, has triggered a major regulatory response. On June 14, 2025, an Air India Boeing 777 flying from Delhi to Vienna experienced a sudden loss of 900 feet during its initial climb, setting off stall and ground proximity warnings. In response to these two events, India's parliament is set to launch a comprehensive review of the nation's civil aviation safety standards on July 9, 2025. This review will involve airlines, regulators like the Directorate General of Civil Aviation, and airport authorities in a top-to-bottom examination of safety protocols and oversight across the industry. As a direct result of the crash and the subsequent safety concerns, the DGCA has mandated enhanced inspections for all Boeing 787 and 777 aircraft in Air India's fleet. These checks are focused on engine components, fuel systems, and other critical flight systems to identify any potential systemic issues that could pose a risk. To accommodate these rigorous inspections, Air India has temporarily reduced its international wide-body flight operations by 15%. This proactive measure, while disruptive to schedules, is a necessary step to ensure the safety of the flying public and to restore confidence in the airline's operations while the investigation proceeds. The crash of Air India Flight 171 has cast a long shadow over the Indian aviation industry, serving as a tragic reminder of the immense responsibility that comes with air travel. While the investigation continues to search for a definitive cause, the incident has already become a catalyst for change, forcing a national conversation about air safety. For the families of the 260-plus victims, the regulatory reviews and operational changes offer little comfort for their profound loss. They, along with the entire aviation community, are left waiting for the final investigation report, hoping for clear answers that will not only explain this tragedy, but also ensure such a disaster never happens again.